to talk about some types or some kinds which are normally common to find, and these are the common types that we are going to talk about. Probably there are, I think, about 2 common types that are commonly found in Europe and all over the world, but under these 2 broad categories there are other examples or subtypes that are available. So for instance, one particular type is the Portland cement and Portland cement bonded composites, or the magnesium cement bonded composites, and these are very common. And under these we have the wood-wool cement bonded composites or boards, and we have the cement bonded particle boards. When we talk about wood-wool, we are talking about they are from wool, but the wool is actually extracted from wood, and this is how the wood looks like. So they look like a fiber from wood. So for instance, if you have a spruce or a pine, you can get this kind of wool. And sometimes in certain places, like I think America, they normally call them the Excelsiors or the Excelsior. So it's just generally the same. It's either wood or Excelsior. That is the common name that they also call these wood fibers by. But actually, so this is how they look like. So here is just the wood wool, and when we make it with cement, either magnesia or Portland, we get this kind of product. So here with me, I have some examples of them. So I will just pass them around and you can have a look at. Then the main objective of this course is actually to let you know that we have some of these things that exist. So not just WPC as a composite, but there are also other composites, and don't worry if you don't know which is what, but it's easy. Some of them I can easily identify, so I'll help you with that. Others might not be all that easy, so we take it from there also. And going back to what we have, so we have a wood wool. So this is basically the wood mixed with the cement component and with water. So these are just the basic ingredients of this. And what happens is sometimes, especially on the industrial level, we have some additives just to improve upon the properties or the color or something. So here you see it's the same product, but we have about 3 or 4 different colors in this picture. So it's also the wood wool, but with different colors. So we add additives and other things to improve either the water absorption, to improve on sometimes other properties of the material, and also obviously a color, because probably we have different colors for different applications and what we see. And when we talk about cement bonded particle boards or the chip boards, these are normally common also, and it's basically like the normal particle board. The production is the same, but like my colleague said earlier, it's just replacing the polymeric side or the adhesive side with a cement now. So the cement bonded particle board normally have 60% of cement by mass, and they have 20% of water, and they have 20% of wood. So if you take in terms of the cement bonded particle board, normally the majority of the share comes from the what? From the cement, because we have 60% of that, 20% of wood, and only 20% of water. But what happens is, you know, the volume of the cement and the volume of the wood occupies definitely much more space as compared to that of the cement. So at the finished product, you normally see that it's made up of a lot of wood, but actually it's mostly 20% of wood with the cement bonded particle board. And here you have a product like that. So this is how they look like. And in your hand, can you? Yeah. So that looks more like the cement bonded particle board, but it's actually from geopolymer. So we get to know that. So it's also 20% of wood, and about 60% of the geopolymeric side, and some other activator. So we'll come to that. So it's also more like a particle board. And the second group of materials that we are going to talk about, which is also common, is the gypsum boards, and sometimes called the plaster boards also. depending on which kind. And we have the gypsum bonded chipboards, and we have the gypsum bonded fiber boards, and we have the what we call the drywall. So in these pictures, first to begin with the pictures, we have this, and this is a gypsum drywall or a plaster board. So we call this the plaster board or the drywall. And what normally happens here in the production is we have a gypsum. A gypsum is basically just calcium sulfate, dihydride. So it's like calcium sulfate bonded with water. So dihydride means there is water in there. And we have the gypsum, that is the middle part here, and it's sandwiched in between two paper layers. So on top of this, we have the paper layer, and below it we have another paper layer. But in the middle, there is only gypsum. So now this is a drywall. We call it the drywall or the plaster boards, and we don't have the wood particles or the chips inside, but it's on the surface because we have the paper layer on the surface, and we have the paper layer also below. And with this one, we have the gypsum bonded chipboards. And with this one, we have, when we talk about the chipboards, they are just like the particle boards, meaning they are just made from wood particles. And in our field, when we talk about particles, they are a bit different from fibers. I don't know whether you know the difference in wood science. As a wood scientist, mostly fibers are produced by use fibers with refiners, and for particles we can produce by just milling wood. So fibers are a bit also thinner, and they have different dimensions as compared to the particles. How they look like, the shapes and everything are totally different. So with the chipboards, we are basically producing with particles, and with the fiber boards, we are producing with fibers. So the wood fibers, and that is the main difference between these products. But actually, the mixing technology sometimes differ. Because when you have fibers, if you've seen fibers or from the wool I showed you, you see they are much sometimes longer or shorter, but it's easy for fibers to entangle or form a ball during the mixing, but particles are much more easy to mix them in a system. So here is a gypsum chipboard or the particle board, gypsum bonded chipboard, but I don't have a picture of the fiber board, the gypsum bonded, but I think as part of the product that I passed around, there is one. I think there is a piece like this. There is a small piece like this. If you've seen, that is the gypsum bonded fiber board. And the next group, which is not so common, is the clay bonded fiber boards or the wall boards or the loom panels. So just one product, they have different names. And sometimes it depends on also the amount of things that we have there. And with the clay bonded fiber boards or particle board or whatever we are producing from clay, normally it's from clay, sand, water, and some additives. And normally, clay is much more brittle. It can easily break when it's dry. So sometimes we have additives like starch. They add starch in there. So they mix the clay with some wood particles or wood fibers. And we have starch sometimes in there, sometimes even just without the starch also, but we have sand in there also and water. And we try to produce these things, so these are also from clay. And here is much more of a particle, and there is much more of a fiber in the product. And we have one group that is also mostly now under research, and we call them the geopolymer bonded boards. And I think as part of the materials we passed around, you saw some of them. But we are also going to go into details what it entails. So normally what we do with the geopolymer is actually from residues. Others call it waste, but I don't term it as waste because we have a use for it. And it's from any material that contains silicon and aluminium can be used in the production of these boards, these bonded boards. So we can produce them from fly ash, we can produce them from slag, we can produce them from rice husk, from sugarcane bagasse. So after burning the bagasse, you get some ash. Even wood ash, you can produce these products from. So we try to mix these materials with wood to produce these kind of boards that you see. And I think in your hand you have two examples of these. Some types of this, or mineral bonded composites. And some of them are much more advanced than others, and others are more greener than others. So we get to know some details about them later.